I want you to ask yourselves a question. What is the most widely traveled and replicated form of poetry in human history? Perhaps you thought of the sonnet or the haiku. I argue the answer is hip-hop. I maintain that 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 500 years from now, scholars will turn to the rhymes of Chuck D, Biggie Smalls, and Nicki Minaj when they want to understand the poetry from the turn of this millennium. And this is where my project comes in. Mic Check, Finding Hip-Hop's Place in the Literary Milieu, examines hip-hop through 4 interpretive angles: tradition, form, tone, and medium. By tradition, I'm referring to an ongoing, centuries-old synthesis of music, literature, and vernacular in the African-American discourse. By form, I'm referring to the structure of a hip-hop verse, i.e. 16 bars or lines written in rhyming couplets in what we call strong stress meter. Tone refers to the oppositional poetics of hip-hop, which were created by disaffected youth in the Bronx in response to the political abandonment imposed on their communities. And lastly, medium highlights how hip-hop is a multidisciplinary artistic movement which constantly blurs the boundaries of genres, from poetry to music to graphic dance and to art. And it is through these 4 angles that I set my research apart from that of the few scholars who've attempted to tackle this understudied phenomenon of American poetics. Centuries from now, the texts of hip-hop will tell our stories to the scholars of the future, the same way much of us know British history through Shakespeare's plays and others. When the students of tomorrow come to hip-hop, I aim to be one of the scholars they look to understand the poetics of this great American literary phenomenon. When you consider my research, you realize hip-hop is poetry. And if every hip-hop rhyme you hear is a poem, it begs the question: has poetry ever been more popular than it is today? Poetry is not some old, abstract, inaccessible art form. Poetry is alive and well. We just call it hip-hop.